Hello everybody, Ian, Starship Adventures, and today I want to just talk for a few minutes about should you join your local ham radio club. And I'm just going to give you some of the things you want to check on and some of the things you want to look for when you're deciding whether you want to take your time and, face it, your money and join your local amateur radio club. First, do you need to join an amateur radio club to enjoy the hobby? Definitely the answer is no. With the internet, with Zoom, and with YouTube, and with all of these other things we have, plus ham fests and everything, and events, and operating events, and field days, and multiple groups, you do not need to join your local team unless you feel it's a good fit for you. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I've joined several of them, and I'll tell you, they were not a fit for me. It's important to make sure that a club is being operated by the people, for the people, just like our country, just like our state, just like our local government. It's run by the people, for the people. And you have to make sure that the thing is set up properly. Go on their website. Before you even apply, go on their website and make sure that you see a functioning website. See if they're active. Check the last thing posted and see how old it is, okay? Check that website and see what that club does, okay? See what they offer for their people. But most importantly, get on that website and find their bylaws and read them. Find out what the reason is they're there. Find out how they operate. Did they post how their elections are performed? Have they posted how they conduct business? Who is responsible for deciding the spending of the money when it's saved in a bank? Make sure all that is in the bylaws and make sure it's all something that you can live with. Because once you join and your money goes in there, it's a waste, it's a loss if it turns out not to be something you want to do. Okay? The next thing you need to do before you even apply to a group is ask around. Ask a few people. If you find somebody in ham radio that's not a member of the group, you get them on the radio, you get them on the phone, ask them. Are you a member of this group? No. Why not? Find out why. You ever wonder why there's 10,000 people live in a county and only 250 of them are a member of the local ham radio club? Why is that so few of the ham radio operators actually are a member of the local club? Well, I guarantee you, if you find most of these people, they'll tell you why they left the club. These clubs, they get bogged down in preventing change. They get bogged down with the same people serving the same offices, the same people over and over again. We've got a local club around here that actually elects an electing committee that turns around and elects the board. And then they bring that to a meeting and say, hey, here's the new slate of people. Is this cool? And everybody says yes. And there's no opportunity at all for any other person to come in and run for the office. And they successfully use this to stifle speech. They successfully use this to navigate each year who's going to be filling each of those roles. And then look out, does your board create extra positions to like give people prestige, like past president, board directors? If you start seeing a group that has 8 and 10 different board members and everybody's got a fancy title, shy away from that. What you've got is you've got an ego party. It's an ego party and everybody but you's invited. So I would steer clear of those, and you'll find that a lot with groups. Find out, does the group decide how the money is spent? Or is it decided by a board behind closed doors and then voted on out in the open with insufficient information? And when I say voted on, only voted on by the board. See, a lot of these groups have changed the guidelines of the club so that the board can go off behind closed doors and decide how the money is spent. And then when the group gets together, they're told what happened. That's not the way it should be. Money should be spent on a vote of the people. So make sure that if you're going to join a local club, make sure that your vote counts. Make sure that you get to vote on what they're spending your dues on, because that's important. When you find out that a club spent thousands of dollars on something and they decided it behind closed doors, and then in a meeting, they get approval to buy fire extinguishers and traffic vests, you know there's something going on. And you have to watch for things like that. These boards are famous for getting people just all locked in their positions, and every year they do the same thing every year. Watch out for this. And I'll tell you, another key thing is, if you're using Zoom or meetings, when they start excluding people from Zoom meetings or making crazy rules on the Zoom meetings, this should be another red flag to you. Do they have crazy rules like once the meeting starts, we won't let you back in if your signal drops? Do they have crazy rules like we have one man that owns the Zoom meeting and he gets to decide who comes in and out? Do they make crazy decisions like we meet at a Zoom meeting and when it comes time for me to speak every time, my Zoom gets disconnected? Isn't that interesting? You got to watch out for stuff. You got to listen to people when they're talking and see, are they happy with their club? Do they feel like their voice has been heard in their club? It's difficult. It really is, because you always get that one guy that's been there a very long time, and he's the guy that runs the Zoom meeting. He's the guy that has his hand in everything. He's got the password to the website. He's got the password to everything. And nobody dares cross him because, well, he's been around longer than anybody else and he's got all the passwords. And that's exactly what happens in several of these local clubs here. And the only good thing, and I hate to say this, but eventually these people move on for one reason or another. And maybe eventually some positive change can be made. But you need to check your club before you join. Don't just assume, hey, they got 200 members, they've got to be a good club, and then hand over your $25 or your $35. Don't do that. Don't waste your money. Same thing with ARRL. Do not just blindly give your money to the ARRL. Most hams that I work with, in fact, nearly every ham I work with is not a member of the ARRL. Very few people that are amateur radio operators are actually a member of ARRL, and per capita that number is dropping. And the reason is because they just don't do anything for us anymore. It's dying off. And so we need to look forward. We need to look ahead and see what we can do in amateur radio to do things in a new way and to get clubs moving in the right direction and not stuck in the past. And bring the hobby into the future by getting students involved and college involved. You know, if you're a local club and you schedule all your operating events and your ham fest on weekdays, shame on you. You do that specifically to keep people who are in school and people who work for a living from bothering you. That's why you do it. There's no other reason why you would do it. You would schedule a 3-day operating event on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, I'm sorry, but if anybody out there thinks that, well, over half our membership works for a living, but we're going to schedule our biggest operating event of the year on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm sorry, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's going on here. It's clear as day. And when you get one of the members, one of the board members that tells you, do what I do, just take 3 days off work. So just do what you do and take those 3 vacation days away from my family and apply them to your operating event because you won't have it over a weekend. I'm sorry, guys. That's crazy. So you need to check out these local teams before you decide to join up, because I got to tell you something that's not good. A lot of what you'll find is not good. And let's say you do join and things are going well. The first time your speech is stifled, the first time you're mysteriously booted from a Zoom meeting, the very first time that you cannot be heard. Now, I don't mean get your way. We never get our way, especially when we're new. But you should at least be heard. If they will not hear you, you don't want to be a member of that club. Don't be a member and pay for 5 years just so that you think you're going to get some kind of voice in the future. Because I got news for you, you may never get in that clique. And if you don't ever get in that clique, you'll never get that voice. These clubs, especially one of these ones here locally, it's a lot of people have joined. A lot of people pay their dues because they think they're doing the right thing for ham radio. Are they? I'm not really sure. Because what we're doing is we're prolonging something that's failing. And sometimes the best way to bring about change in this world is to let it fail. Let it hit bottom. Let it break. And then we'll put the pieces together, and hopefully what we come up with afterwards will be better. But there's no fixing a lot of these clubs. There's no fixing these national clubs that are taking your money and doing nothing for it. Did you hear the ARRL? They're going to stop printing the magazine, and they're raising your dues. This ought to go over like a lead balloon. It's just another line on their epitaph. It's not going to work like this anymore. People are starting to get wise to it. And I'm asking you, my listeners, my viewers, to get wise to it as well. And don't let these organizations go on day after day, year after year, spending your money behind closed doors and spending your money on salaries and spending your money on operating events that you can't go to because you work. Spending your money on things you can't attend because you get kicked out of Zoom meetings. Spending your money on ham fests that are held on weekdays. Make sure you know what you're getting. And make sure that what you sign up for and what you pay for is beneficial to you. Paying a local club or a national club or an international club is not doing the right thing for ham radio. It's not. Joining the right club for the right reasons and doing the right thing is. Just make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure you're joining the right club for the right reasons. Check into their bylaws. Check into how they do business. When you ask who the president is, ask how many other board positions has he held and how many years has he been president. Ask them, how did he get elected? Was there a speech given by the two people that wanted to be president, or was one name presented, no speech, and a vote? Find out if your voice will be heard. And if it's not, then don't waste your money. Don't waste your money. I'm not saying clubs are bad. Just make sure it's not a waste of your money. Make sure it's something you want to spend your money on, because it's not something I'll spend my money on, I can tell you that. I started a team. I've got folks on my team. We're in 3 different towns. Everything's going great. We don't charge dues. We don't collect money. It's a hobby. We get together. We operate. We build things. We do things. A lot of these board members, all they ever do is go to meetings. They don't come up on nets. You know, half the board members at a local crew here don't even have a working HF radio hooked up. We got to ask ourselves at some point, how did the people most in the radio become over here, and the people who are just in it for some other weird reason over here? I don't understand how that happened. The people that want to contest and want to get involved and want to build things and want to do things and want to be active on the weekends, those people should be the ones running the clubs. Those people should be the ones doing things out there. Instead, we've got presidents and past presidents sitting around, not even operating a radio all day. Ridiculous. Come on, guys. Buck up or get out. That's what I say. And as far as joining a local team, just make sure you're joining a team that's in it for you. Because you're going to be in it for them, right? And make sure your voice is heard. I guess that's about all I'm going to say on this. I'm sorry for the rant, guys. But I think it's important to understand that just like everything else in the world, ham radio does not function well. There's very few people still doing it, and the people that are doing it can't find each other because of billions of different modes and bands and everything else. It's so difficult. And then on top of that, you had corruption in its most basic form. Wow, folks. Be careful out there. Get into ham radio. Find people that want to be in it like you. Contact me. I'll get in contact with you. We'll do things. But Don't just join the club because it's the big club in town. Don't waste your time, and certainly don't waste your money. All right, everybody, my name's Ian. This is Starship Adventures. I look forward to your comments. Let's keep it civil. I always keep my comments on, and I do respond. But let's keep it civil down there. I know there's strong opinions on this. Most of those opinions are the people that I'm talking about. So there you go. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.